Apparently we're live. Hold on, give it like 3 seconds. I don't see anything yet.
I see us on the side. This is we're so fucking pro.
So pro. 3 seconds of black screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're live. Go for it.
We're
Kev.
alive. You're damn right we're alive. Sorry we're late, guys. We're 60 seconds late. Rob's a little low energy. Looks like he's drinking a glass of water. Oh no, what is that? Oh no, that's Springfield water. They got a saying back in Springfield. If it's brown, drink it down. If it's black, send it back. That is 8 seconds into BrotoGP episode 130 something, and we're talking about The Simpsons. Rob told me that he was feeling a little low energy. He's a little tired. The holidays have got him. He heard about the catastrophic injury that I suffered on Sunday, and he's still shaken to his core. Perhaps we'll talk about that later. But what we're probably going to talk about most, we could talk about Portugal and the round. We could talk about Miguel Oliveira dominating flag to flag, lap to lap, and having an absolutely perfect weekend. We could talk about Mir having maybe the worst weekend you could possibly have after becoming championship. But actually, what we're going to talk about is the most important news of the week. The earth-shattering news. News that's more important and requires more in-depth analysis and discussion than any other. Not Marquez's arm and whether the self-imposed deadline of him needing to get third surgery has come and gone and whether he's got it. Not whether the Yamaha sucks or doesn't suck, or whether it doesn't suck while sucking while not sucking. What we actually, which by the way, is the title of Rob's sex tape. What we're actually going to talk about is the single greatest question in the history of GP journalism. The single most hard-hitting, the most important, Pulitzer Prize winning Dan Rather hiding under the sheets in the dark when realizing what real journalists do, and that is Petrucci being asked what his favorite Simpsons episode was, and him answering correctly the only actual correct answer for anyone's favorite episode, King Size Homer. King Size Homer is an episode of The Simpsons. And by the way, you think this is an episode about racing? No. Rob's low energy. We're talking about Fat Homer because there's nothing more important than you could do than to be over 300 pounds to get on disability to not have to work. All he had to do was press the any key, but he doesn't see any key.
There is no any key.
Right, exactly. I think I'll order a tab.
But he delegated. He did end up delegating.
Absolutely. That's what you do. It's the key to success in life, ladies and gentlemen, is not whether you can work like 10 men, but to get 10 men to work for you. And if that first man is a toy bird that controls the reaction core of a nuclear power plant, that's what it's got to be. That's how you triple your productivity. There's Dennis. He has no idea what we're talking about right now.
I think I'm gonna have to.
But when do I ever have an idea what the two of you are talking about?
Wait, hold on. I don't think anyone can hear Dennis. Hold on, let me fix that.
Oh no!
Hold on.
That was my only smart ass quip.
Yeah, you had a smart ass comment and it didn't happen. Oh, now everyone can see you, Dennis.
Exactly, Scott Featherstone. Marge may not have found him sexually attractive anymore, plus 300 pounds, but he tripled his productivity. And in the end, sexual attraction only lasts so long. It's but a drop in the bucket of the lifetime of partnership. And him tripling his productivity at a nuclear power plant, other message, gets him to make more money, more stability. They get the lake house. They go to Cypress Creek. It's all based on Homer's tripled productivity.
I love how his tripling of productivity came from the fact that he very, very slowly did his job. Why? Oh.
Well, here's the thing. Fuck very slowly doing your job. Dennis, you have a job, right?
It's more or less.
No? Yeah, Dennis doesn't have a job, right? You guys don't know. Dennis is actually like a baller. The show HBO Ballers is actually based on Dennis's life. But us norms have a boss. And everyone in the live chat right now, if you invented a widget, if Dennis handed you a widget and that widget made you be able to do all the work you need to do in half the time, would your boss just let you go at 1 o'clock every day? Or would he just expect you to do twice as much work a day? So fuck whether it depends. I'll trip my productivity if I was going slower already. It's all about appearances, Rob. It's all about appearances.
Well, yeah, if you ever manage to really increase your productivity, just chill out. Don't tell anyone.
Right, because all they do is give you more work. Tim Ferriss wrote an amazing book on this exact subject called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it was about teleworking to get out of the fact that they just expect you to work for 8 hours. And if you do more work than you're supposed to, or if you're able to do more work in less time, they just give you more work.
Oh, yeah.
Did this conversation start because Rob thought he didn't have beer in the house?
That's literally, but
almost.
luckily, just like Homer, Rob went to the toilet, pulled out the top where he hides his fucking toilets. Then he stood in front of the mirror and he balanced his luscious pecs that he has, and he's good to go.
You overestimate how large of a person I actually am, even though you've met me quite a few times.
Right.
You also
for those of you that know, I look like a guy that ate Rob.
Yeah.
Like that's the size difference between me and Rob.
The case of beer was in the pantry underneath the humongous box of very fancy ramen purchased from H Mart, and that case of beer has been in there for 4 or 5 years because it's fancy beer.
It's the backup beer. And then what you do when you have the fancy backup beer and you have your fancy ramen, you take dried ramen after you make your ramen and do all of it. You take some of the ramen and you crinkle it up with little chips and you put it on top and it gives you a little extra snippety snappity.
Oh yeah, the crinkles. Oh,
the crinkles. If you don't have the crinkles, what are you even doing?
Well, the other thing that I do with the ramen is don't even use water. Just a little bit of water and then a raw egg on top of it and then fry it in a pan and whatever. We're getting way off topic. We need to go back to Homer Simpson. We actually are going to get to Danilo Petrucci a little bit later. Of course, this podcast and YouTube video is brought to you by Writer's Law, as you can see next to there we go, right there. They are your California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. More on them later.
Boom.
More on them. Food talk with BrotoGP. According to Jen.
Correct.
Yes, that happens. Food, beer, Simpsons, popular culture, memes, Pole Sucks, Kyle Crutchlow, Banana Time, anything.
Zarko's fault.
It's definitely Zarko's fault.
For a long time, what I wanted to do was Rob and I wanted to make basically a Parts Unknown Anthony Bourdain style podcast starring me and Rob.
Can we
financed by Dennis and his non-job.
Do you think
Speaking of non-jobs, how about that Aprilia and no one wanting to ride for them?
Yeah, so let's jump right into that. Dennis is wearing
motorcycle racing.
Shirt. Yeah, motorcycle racing happened. Holy shit. We're not even talking about the race first. Let's go straight to silly season. So if you haven't heard, actually, Aprilia offered the seat for their second factory ride to 4 or 5 Moto2 riders, also potentially Chaz Davis, and no one took it. Everyone was not down with that. So now the ride is going to either Lorenzo Savadori or Bradley Smith, depending on who does better in winter testing.
Real quick, thanks to Steve for the first super chat. That will help me pay for the health insurance of the 15 stitches currently in my arm from the story we may tell later about me falling from great heights and landing on random objects. If we get big super chats, maybe Rob will put up the not safe for work photo of the injury that I had. But earlier, actually, I wanted to say something real quick about Bilal had mentioned. When these riders aren't taking the Aprilia, I don't think it's the bike. I mean, the bike has shown some improvements. I mean, obviously not KTM style improvement, but I don't think that bike is nearly as bad as it is. I think that it's just sort of like the Ducati effect on steroids. Like Ducati can treat their riders kind of like shit and get away with it because the bike wins races, and it's obviously a pretty good bike. And they're obviously, despite the fact they don't always treat the riders the best, they're as passionate as possible about racing. And there was like the old adage that Honda races to sell bikes, but Ducati sells bikes so they can race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, like Aprilia doesn't have that. So they just literally have like your team's not that great and you don't really treat guys like very well. And I think that's really the good point is that like because there's a lot of like you took Joe Roberts and Chaz Davis both sort of offered the ride and talked about pre-contract potentials and that was almost a done deal. There's pretty good merit to both those guys taking that ride, but it's a bit of a gamble to take that ride. And they've already proven they won't even let a rookie develop. They fired Sam Lowe's. I'm not the biggest Sam Lowe's fan. I don't think he's the best thing since sliced bread or anything.
Is anyone the biggest?
At the entire like Brit English speaking media,
Lowe's.
basically. Alex Lowe's probably doesn't mind him. But they fired him essentially halfway through his first year of a contract. And if you break a contract, it's not going to be a good look. You know, I mean, it's definitely a rough situation to break contracts. I mean, the Avintia team has done it twice now, 2 years straight.
I'm going with what Jen said, that Aleix just sucks. I think that having kind of like an unknown rider as your lead and not having someone that anyone thinks can win a race, i.e. because he's never won a single race in the paddock, if I'm not mistaken, or in the series. I think it's just doing them a big disservice, right? Like if there was some known person, like someone that like any of the new riders could measure themselves against, then all the other factories would see like, oh, okay, we know that so-and-so is this good. The new rider came in and rode just as well as them. So maybe they're a quality rider. And I mean, we've talked about this before and still think it's true that the easiest way into GP is through one of the lower teams, and then the easiest way into a factory seat is through one of the lower teams. And then you kind of move into a different factory. I shouldn't use the word factory because we're talking about the Aprilia factory ride.
Which isn't really factory, so to speak. It's pseudo factory.
Yeah. It's like 98% factory. 98%. So
I think what we're getting at is like the classic Donald Rumsfeld line. I think I've mentioned this all the time, was like when the Iraq war started and people said like, why did you like send guys to the war with no body armor? I'm not getting into politics, but he had this famous line where it was like, there's known knowns, unknown knowns, and then unknown unknowns. Like you don't like, you know, like, and that's like, it's kind of an intelligent way to put it, really. I mean, he's no dummy. And I think like Aleix is like a known unknown. Like we know what he can do on an Aprilia, but that's all we actually know. He's never won a race in any Grand Prix class ever. He has like, I think a couple of podiums. I mean, if that. I mean, he's so far away from being a benchmark. You have no idea what you're doing. Like right now, Alex Rins, if someone were to, like, you know, Joan Mir comes into Suzuki, we have a perfect comparison, you know, and you look at, there's a ton, all the other teams essentially have this equal comparison. You know, a rider comes onto Ducati, Jack Miller is he hasn't won a race in Ducati, but he's consistently been podium pace. You don't have that at all in Aprilia. You have no idea how good someone is, and you don't know if their direction is correct at all. They had it with Iannone, but then obviously all the craziness went down, you know, and I actually looked for my AI shirt, but I couldn't find it. So threw the Fabio one on. Speaking of which, someone said, bring back the Fabio shirt. We ain't going to do that. But if you didn't buy one of the first shirts per Eric Mark Aureli's question real quick on the Super Chats, Rob has ordered a second batch of the Mega GP shirt and the Valentino Rossi 8-bit, and hopefully you'll see them in another week or two.
Eric sent us a $5 super chat for that comment. So Eric, email me your size and I will save one for you.
Correct,
because that's how cool you are.
But I think, Jen's point is perfect, which is that we don't really know how good the Aprilia is because there's no benchmark at all. And it's been such an up and down since. They had a rookie. They didn't let the rookie develop. And they had Iannone. And Iannone was obviously a bit of a crazy guy, but then he had his tainted meat situation, you know, and he's gone now. And now it's gotten so bad.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is tainted meat a title of Rob Sex tape?
Yeah, exactly.
Aleix has
see, all I'm hearing is that
Moto2 and GP, one each.
It's not the riders, it's not the bike. It goes full circle back to Aprilia or Gracino or whoever who's just not doing a very good job as far as PR or managing personnel and the program. So I think what they should do is what we talked about, what Jorge should have done a few years ago, which is turn full heel. You know, they need to start calling these riders out for being cowards, for being too afraid of their bike. You know what I mean? Just go full villain on the grid and raise their stock back up that way.
Right. Yeah, you got to be so bad, you come around and become the anti-hero.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's interesting that Joe Roberts would turn it down. Obviously Joe got the best one of championship team. He's moving on. It's the Iltrans team. They won the Italotrans. Sorry. But I worry if that was the best choice, because he has to have an unbelievable year next year just to stand out, because you look at,
to clarify, you mean in Moto 2?
In Moto 2, to be able to get to GP. I just worry that his path to be able to get to GP is going to be exceedingly difficult when you look at how KTM hires from within. Remy Gardner already has his KTM ride with a factory option, or a team option, right? KTM hires from within. The VR46 squad has sort of like basically taken over Ducati. They took over a team, and they've got Pecco on the factory team. VR46 runs half the Ducati riders next year, and they are literally like, they're becoming the de facto junior team. Honda and Yamaha aren't going to sign like these guys straight over. It's doubtful. They rarely do that. And like, where does that leave him? Maybe at Suzuki, who has no satellite ride, or maybe with one of the other second or third tier Ducatis. I'm not so sure. I wonder as if he has to have an amazing, unbelievable season next year. When you look at,
I don't think there are that many 1-year contracts sitting there for the end of 2021 as well.
Right.
Like Rossi's comes to mind. I don't know about Petrucci. I believe that Zarco got a 2-year at Pramac, but it's just, there are not that many open seats. I mean, the cool thing is, right, looking at Aprilia, there were kind of two names that were at the forefront before they announced that Lorenzo and Bradley were the only people left, and it was Joe Roberts and Chaz Davis. Chaz Davis has now been signed by the Go 11 Ducati team, so he's sticking in World Superbike. And we're still talking about Joe Roberts we're talking about it now for really the first time, because it is kind of I'm on the fence about it. They're like I agree that it's going to be very difficult for him to enter into GP without taking that Aprilia ride now, just because of the way everything is going to work out. But I still question if he obviously believes in himself that he can fight for the title next year, be in the top 3, and then get that GP ride. And honestly, he may have to do it for 2 years. He may have to do it for 2021 and 2022. Maybe win the title in 2022 and then go to GP. And I mean, but he is being given all the things that he needs to make that happen, because he's now on the factory winning bike, or the championship winning bike. Sorry.
So there's 2 comments in the thread that got brought up that I think they're perfect, like either sides of the same coin for the discussion. Ryan brought up that, have you seen some of the guys that just waited out a good Moto2 talent to get promoted and then won the champion? Rabat, LOL, which is funny, right? Like Rabat, and I think Dorna has been in the business of sort of making or nudging the Moto2 champion to get promoted almost no matter what. I mean, that's basically how Alex Marquez won it. He just waited everyone out. That's how Tito won it too. Zarco won it, and then he got a good ride, obviously, with Tech 3. But man, like, those are all guys who won races first. Dude's got like 1 podium. He, like, this idea that he's gonna, like, the idea that I've never seen anyone ride the momentum of a pole position at the season opener this long. It's like because 2020, right? It's still March 219th right now. You know what I mean? So it's like everyone still remembers the insanity of that pole position, but he didn't really like take a big next step. So this idea that he's just going to fight for the title, I hope he does, but I don't think.
Well, look, this isn't really. I don't know. This isn't a glaring endorsement of Aprilia or anything, but I just think that if he actually did move up to GP, even with Aprilia, look, one way or another, he's going to have to prove himself. But in my opinion, better to do it in the GP grid than in Moto2, when you have all these other talented kids trying to make a name for themselves.
I mean, you can get dead last in GP for years and still have a ride, as seen by
Bradley Smith, Aleix Espargaro are good examples, right? I guess the question is, do you want Tito, a job?
Carl as well. Right. Like, there are a lot of people that were at the bottom of the field for years, and it was
Carl even went to World Superbikes and then back to MotoGP grid.
Carol Abraham having more wins in Moto2 than Aleix Espargaro and Joe Roberts combined. Yeah. But I think the other point that's a really good one is that And I really thought about this too. That, and Bilal mentioned this, who is one of the admins of our Facebook group. If you guys are in the insanity that is that group's memes, feel free to check it out. Answer the questions. So we got new questions for membership. They're pretty good, including one of them is, how would you turn down the ride for Aprilia if it was offered to you? But is that I think Joe Roberts staying down, I don't know if it's the best move for him or not. It could be, but I think it's the best move for American racing as a whole. It's been a long time since I looked at a grid and saw a guy in World Superbike and 2 riders in Moto2. We saw 3 riders in the World Championships, series next year that all have a shot at podiums. Right? Like, it's been a long time coming, and I think Cam has moved to Joe Roberts' old team, the American Racing team. Garrett is looking great in World Superbike. He ended the season on a high with some momentum, really showed that he's learning and doing well. And my boy Chris Turner from American Racing has been really right on a lot of predictions, and he's big on Gerloff, so I'm riding what he said, because he called Joan Mir being the champion in 2020 at like the first race.
Chris Turner raced for Riders Law, actually.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know if you knew. Thank you to Cody Dean for the $5 for BrotoGP beer in hand. Woman cooking dinner. Life is good.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
So we'll pour a little bit more in this one.
I will pour this out, but I think it's a great time for American racing, because most of us fans, I know obviously Rob and Dennis, not Dennis, he started a little earlier than me, but a lot of us, especially in the chat, remember those heydays of AMA. We remember when Nicky or Ben Bostrom and these guys would race against the World Superbike guys, the Wildcards Laguna, and win or do well. And we remember the time period, like Joan Mir just won, right? The championship. Who was the last guy to win it for? Suzuki. In 1999, you look at that block of time, we had guys winning GP. We had Nicky winning the GP championship. We had Colin Edwards winning two championships and races galore in World Superbike. We had the AMA guys absolutely holding it down in wildcard races. Ben and Eric were doing good. Ben had that famous 6-race win streak, which at the time was one of the biggest win streaks in his era, where he turned it on, Ben Bostrom. It was a great time. And then, Ben Spies and Matt Mladen kind of took over AMA, and it even though we've come to find out through Ben that level was world championship level, Absolutely. It really drug it down because they won every race. It was there was a 3-year period where only Jake Zemke won a race, right? It was like Eric Bostrom would win at Pikes Peak, and then Jake Zemke won once at I can't remember one for the Honda. It was a really funky time, and then they'd made a bunch of rule changes, and everyone was convinced that Yoshimura was cheating. It turned out, obviously, they were just the next step, right? There's levels to this. And then it went into the DMG era, which was just a fucking nightmare. Formula Extreme became the premier class, rolling starts, and then
the American Championship that shall not be named.
Exactly. And it really brought it down, and we've talked about this. We didn't know if it's ever going to come back. I'm fucking jacked. I'm as excited right now as Dennis looks. That we have multiple guys that every weekend we're going to potentially see American riders fighting for podiums. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's a thought that I really hadn't considered was Joe Roberts turning the ride down is probably better for Americans as a whole, right? Because we don't want to see another, I mean, not to bring it up again, but another situation like Josh Herrin moving into Moto2, right? It was, we expected great things because he was the Superbike champion and he had all these results, and then he went to a team that ignored him and treated him poorly, and he was booted halfway through. And we're talking about Aprilia here. There's already a track record of doing exactly that to previous riders. So Joe Roberts coming in, he may be a good signing for Aprilia, but they could turn on him instantly.
You can't write that. They've ruined that's the legacy. They've ruined what they had, because we've talked about this for years. They have Gresini. Gresini is a great team. They have absolute history. They have a Moto3, a Moto2 team. They can do de facto what KTM has been able to do, that has done so well. And we're going to get to that momentarily, that they could hire from within. They can get they can tighten, lock up prospects, high-end prospects early on in a way that, Yamaha and Suzuki can't, right? In a way that Ducati, until now, they have VR46, but they don't really lock up those prospects. They're just a pathway for those high-end Italians to get to the team. But Gresini could lock up prospects by Moto3, just like, KTM did it, and KTM won 3 races this year, and Miguel Oliveira on the fucking Tech 3 team, who hadn't won a race in 20 years, won 2 races this year. They were a mainstay forever, right? That's amazing. And I just think that they really shot themselves in the foot by doing what they did to Sam Lowes and not seeing it through.
Just that one move has probably ruined their chances of getting a good signing it ruined their chances of getting a good signing for 2021, and it may continue a couple more years. I
actually think that's why they stuck by Iannone so stoutly for so long through all of this. They have to prove, like, no, we got your back. We're going to have your back. Like, that's not who we are. I often think that was an optics thing. That was they knew he wasn't going to get it, and they knew, like, getting those things overturned while it happens is incredibly difficult, especially in GP. We've seen what's happened with Anthony West, and I think we
don't need to talk about WADA,
right? Yeah, I think they stuck by him as optics for whoever they do get. That we're going to have your back from now on.
Well, that's an interesting point.
I'm an interesting guy.
Thank you to Delta Box 7 for the
someone, by the way, in there. Someone in there had maybe the greatest comment on why AMA actually crashed and burned, and it was that Yoshimura wouldn't sell factory bikes or let Ben Spies ride for the Jordan team. That unobtainium is an actual thing. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, really, but the greatest mistake in the history of, like, American road racing from a branding perspective is not letting Michael Jordan run your flagship team. The fuck are you talking about?
The most recognizable name in all sports.
Right.
And not just like it's definitely a humongous branding problem, but also the fact that entire concept has been regulated against, right? We realized because that happened in every championship, like, no, that's bad for the sport.
But Michael Jordan.
Well, yeah, but it's just, it was two things. Michael Jordan made it so painfully obvious because he had all the money to buy those parts from Yoshimura, and they were like, nah, you can't have them. Sorry.
They're willing to not have one of the most recognizable brands on the planet, which would be an outside the industry brand for them.
Yep.
Shoes, like, remember their color schemes, right? Shoes, basketball. Remember the color prints? Schemes, blue and purple, awesome. The elephant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was unfucking believable.
It wouldn't be like irrational to think that had things turned out differently, Jordan could have been in the world stage at this point. World Superbike,
he wanted to be.
Moto2.
He rode.
Yeah.
Right, he rode the Ducati. Like, there's absolutely no right. That's talk about what ifs. We could do a whole what if episode on that.
I mean, if Antonio Banderas can sponsor a Moto2 team,
it would be what if Suzuki sold to Jordan? What if Gobert didn't smoke crack? And what if
Kev, to round out the AMA history talking point here, I love how you speak so matter of fact about it, like we all know what you're talking about, and then every time you do it, someone always leaves a comment of like, I had no idea, thank you for the history lesson.
Exactly. Like, just call me the professor.
I don't even know, like, half the things that you bring up. Some of them I only know because you've talked about them on the show before, and other ones I just you take me to school. Happens every time.
That's how I do it. Take you to school. Well, this is Professor Kevin Mass is in section.
This is the only reason we've kept Kevin alive for this long.
Oh yeah, like exactly. He's not the entirety of BrotoGP and Why People Watch.
Right. Luckily, I'm alive because I nearly died by falling on something, but maybe later.
Maybe later. Let's move on to MotoGP in Portugal. So we'll go back in time a little bit. This is actually before Joe Roberts lost the ride, before Chaz Davis signed for Go 11. I shouldn't say Joe Roberts lost the ride. He refused the ride. Mm-hmm. Before Chaz Davis signed for World Superbike for another year. Crazy Portuguese rider on an Austrian KTM,
satellite bike
in a French team, dominates the entire weekend and wins the race handily. Did he led every corner, right?
It was like boring.
I know, like it was the most anticlimactic finish to this kind of season, but yeah.
Kev already brought up the fact that good thing Joan Mir wrapped up the title beforehand.
Right, because it's pretty wild to think that if it wasn't for Franco Morbidelli's blown engine, he's probably the champion.
Oh, I didn't even think about that one.
3 wins, dominate, does well, finished the season on a high, never lost, built his momentum the entire time, never lost it. Like, it's literally one blown engine.
Fucking Aprilia just ruining their shit constantly.
Right.
I'm sorry. I said Aprilia. I meant Yamaha sucks.
Because it sucks.
Yeah, Yamaha sucks. Either way.
That was the only spectacular thing to that race, is Yamaha's fall from grace. I mean,
this
dude, that was literal rock bottom.
This dude finished 8th in the championship. What?
Can't be mad because I won money, but yeah.
Right.
I gotta scroll down. To the championship standings. Yeah, Joan Mir, Franco, Rins, Dovi, Pole, Maverick, Jack, and then Fabio in 8th place.
And Pole sucks.
Therefore, Yamaha sucks.
And then Miguel Oliveira comes through with another win and finishes 2 points behind Fabio Quartararo in 9th. The whole thing just. I still can't wrap my head around 2020. Like, I definitely got exhausted from everything that was going on for the entire year. I'm glad that this American holiday of Thanksgiving gave us a week off last week. But it was a little anticlimactic, but there's still a lot that came out of it. Like Fabio falling so far down, Franco almost winning the championship, Joan Mir what did they report? That he had an electronic issue in qualifying and then the issue popped up again in the race?
To be honest, I don't know offhand.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go with it then. Exactly what I said.
Our story is based on true events.
I mean, Dovizioso had a terrible, terrible year and still brought it home in 4th position.
Right, like they had the worst year in years, and he still brought it home. He had like as bad of a year as like 2009 when he won that one race at Donington, and it's just on the Honda in the rain, and it's like, Dovi's gone, Cal's gone, the change into the guard, but yeah, it's interesting that I think it really showed that. What are you laughing at over there? What are we laughing at?
Sully just sent us a super chat that said Pole Asparagus is Pole Asparagus. Asparagus. No,
Asparagus.
Asparagus' new nickname is Stinky P.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also Rob's porn name.
No, it's not.
That's also what happens when you eat asparagus, actually, ironically.
It works on so many levels.
Yes.
That's too meta, though. That's too meta.
There is no such thing as too meta.
I mean, the Yamaha definitely had that fall from grace, except for Franco Morbidelli. But before we get there, Kev,
if you had a fall from grace, but in the literal sense, if you literally fell from your bike, which you named Grace, because you were sideswiped or Pole while he sucked cut you off and you fell off your bike and you felt that you weren't at fault and you want to recoup some damages, you would go to writerslaw.com. Writers Law, that's with a Z.com. They're your California accident injury lawyers. And this is how we sidestep getting you guys to not fast forward through the ad by sneaking it in casually and meta-like with the ads. So, Writers Law, your California accident injury motorcycle lawyers, but not just California, a couple other states. If you have something that happens to you on your motorcycle and you feel that you need legal representation to address the issue, give lawyer Rob a call, give Cy a call. You heard us talk about our bro Chris Turner. He raced for them. They're big sponsors of the series, and you'll notice that we have not inundated you with many other ads or many other sponsors or just randomly started selling you CBD and shit like that, because we've tried to keep that to a minimum so we can joke around and have fun and not keep this overcapitalized like podcasts are becoming. Primarily, that's for 2 reasons. One, Writers Law with a Z.com, and because you guys are dope and you buy the shirts that we make, which we think are pretty fun shirts. And if you bought one of the new shirts, they have all shipped, and Rob sending them out. And if you're looking for that Mega GP shirt, that should be back in stock. The first one we've ever pre-printed this quick, mostly because we vastly underestimated how people wanted it, and whatever one Rob's pointing at, and they'll be in stock soon.
Yeah, give me like 2 weeks on the shirts. Kev, I think I just discovered a way to keep people listening to your awesome Radaza segues.
Ooh, how's that?
By showing them a cat on the YouTube video.
Yes, that is the correct way to do it. Right.
I have a cat igloo.
You need to put a Writer's Law T on one of your cats, Rob. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have ZipRecruiter fucking posted on our website yet.
ZipRecruiter? I don't even know what that is. Casper mattresses. Dollar Shave Club. Oh, I should stop saying these. They're gonna think
right. What the fuck, guys? Yeah, exactly.
They haven't given us any money. We're not going to promote them. Back to Portuguese racer winning the Portuguese round that just so happened to be added late in the season and doing amazing things. I mean, I guess the only thing that could have been sweeter for Miguel Oliveira was if he had taken his first win at his home round, but still not a bad thing.
No, really, I think other way around, because I think that by getting that first win and the way he did snap, sort of stealing it at the very last, passing those two guys. That was this, like, if he had won like this race,
stamping it.
This one kind of reminded me how Nicky won Laguna, right? Like the first time. It sort of felt like the home field advantage was really high. The race wasn't actually that good. Clearly he knew the track better than everyone. Not a bunch, but like some of the Yamahas, like Fabio famously didn't test at the track. Like some of the teams tested, some of the teams didn't. Like he won this one so dominating that I think it would have, by already having a separate win, this put the stamp on that win. I think it's better that he would finish out the year like this. He's moving to the factory squad. He solidified multiple winner, and I'm better than Brad Binder. Like he's leading into that, going, Go ahead, Dennis.
My Erie Stewart in the chat brings up a good point, which is, do you guys think that Oliveira would have had a different weekend if there were actually fans on the track? That home field advantage, but then there's that pressure. You know what I mean? So the fact that the people, or at least not a lot of people at all, were there, do you think that actually helped him to not have that much pressure? I mean, you know what? Because it reminded me that I think during one of the free practices, he even said that the key to him doing so well was just he was simply having fun each time he went out on track. But what if the fans were there?
Fun.
Home field advantage is a real thing. I know we got a lot of people that watch football, American football, and regular football. We have a lot of people that watch other sports. Home field advantage is fucking real. It's a real thing. That's why betting favorites are usually home field. He would have had a massive advantage if people were there. I think the pressure was off because he had that win. He didn't feel like he needed to get that first win at home. I think that's probably what got him the win, but I'm not so sure I feel that not having fans did him better. No way. You're telling me that because if this wasn't 2020 and you tell me that Miguel Oliveira has already won a race and they're going to Portugal, that they're not selling that place out and they're going fucking crazy. The Portuguese fans are the straight up craziest fans. They're so crazy that they threaten me. Like online.
That happened. Bilal says that
they're fucking nuts.
Bilal says that it doesn't matter because his sister was there. So there was, I think he's implying there was still pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different kind of pressure we're talking about.
We're not. That's as far as I'm going to go. It's as far as I'm going to go.
And we're not going to go any farther because we get threatened by Portuguese fans. But no, I think there's no way. I think actually I wasn't bothered by no fans at the races this year at all, because I don't think it really, other than Mugello, which we didn't have that race, but it doesn't really, like, it's not required for the show, so to speak. It doesn't really change my genuine, like Qatar doesn't have fans at all, right? Like there's like 8 people there, right?
Yep.
And then there's like 25 slave laborers who maintain the track that was built by slave laborers, because I'm going to mention that every single fucking episode, that they just run slave labor in that country. And Dorna's like, yep, give me all your money. But I think that if we had seen Miguel Oliveira roll in to that race after getting pole position and looking so dominant with fucking, what is the capacity at that track, Rob? I'm sure you could look it up. But if we saw 75,000 fucking insane Portuguese fans going nuts, I think it would have been the one race I'm really bummed there was no fans. I think the spectacle of what remember 2006 at Mugello when Valentino and Loris Capirossi and Kenny Roberts Jr. on the fucking KR 211V were having one of the greatest races of all time. Such an amazing barn burner. Guys, if you have the video pass, if they already charged you into that sneaky thing where they steal your money by re-upping your video pass, even though you clicked off auto renew and they still click auto renew back on, steal your money and there's nothing they can do about it, go back and watch 2006 Mugello. That race was so nuts in Italy that the fans stormed the track and not every rider finished the race. That if he led every race a lap and went and won that race, they just stormed the track while the race was still going. They just fucking 30,000 people would have stormed the track. It would have been fucking hilarious.
Pole Espargaro still would have sucked.
Right.
Even if there were fans on the track.
Right.
No, I mean, yeah. I'm gonna go with any added pressure from the fans wouldn't have mattered because it just the performance that he put on was so smooth and so. I mean, he led every corner, right? Because of that, there's no way. Like maybe he would have been a little bit closer to Franco in the end, but no, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, Jen and Janeth, sorry, bro, if I pronounced your name wrong there. 100,000 fans. Jayon, yeah, we're friends on Facebook, actually, me and him, and he's a cool dude. But 100,000 fans, they would have sold out. It would have absolutely sold out if they could have had fans. Sold out. If that vaccine hits, England has already the UK has approved the vaccine. They're saying people are going to start getting it next week. Healthcare workers and at-risk people, right? If that vaccine hits and we can get any kind of amount of fans at tracks, Portugal is going to be off the hook. It's going to be the craziest race of the year. There's no question.
I'm pretty sure that Portimao is on the reserve list, which, given how everything is going, I wouldn't be surprised if...
Get rid of one of the fucking stupid Spanish rounds. How could it be on the reserve list? They're going to have the most fans, and they've got, the first time ever there's a Portuguese winner. He won 2 races. He's got to be He's got to be on the bookies list for multiple wins next year, and they're going to have a reserve? That's insane. Come on, people. What are you doing?
I'm going to look here. Wait. Yep. Yeah, first on the reserve list. Looks like the whole rest of Finland is not on the reserve list. There's a TBD sometime between July and August, and
the Finnish track is not happening. It's not happening. That race is not happening.
It doesn't. Finland doesn't exist, right?
It's not there. There is no Finland.
What's more fake, Finland or birds?
Finland is not real. There is no Finland.
Finland is where birds go to.
There
migrate.
were birds, but he got rid of the birds in the 80s. There was never a Finland. Finland is just the Baltic Sea.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Eric Torres, I feel like, Kev, that this question is directly for you.
Eric's my boy.
If the MotoGP paddock had a WWE style Royal Rumble, who would win and why?
Oh, fuck. It's the question. The big, I don't know who would win. The bigger question is who would be the surprise entrance. That's the real reason you watch the Royal Rumble. The real reason you watch the Royal Rumble isn't to see who wins. It's to see who are the crazy surprise entrants. I think it would literally be there'd be the surprise Iannone entrance. He's not even supposed to be here, JR. You know what I mean? It's a slobber knocker. I mean, right now, who would win? It's the question is, they always use the Royal Rumble to put up the guy they want to do, to push, right? Whoever wins the Royal Rumble usually goes on to win the title at WrestleMania. That's the guy who's going to be the focal point for the next season. Rarely does that guy not win. I think if they got to do it, it's actually Brad Binder. Brad Binder wins the Royal Rumble. They script Brad Binder to win it because they need KTM to look good. They need KTM to follow it up, and they need Binder to win it. And by God, it's Binder! And they would go nuts. There's no question.
I mean, he's stone-faced. He's got a cool accent. I could get behind that. I was actually kind of thinking Biaggi comes back like Mahiri in the chat here.
I definitely think that's Biaggi is absolutely a surprise entrance. Biaggi's that surprise entrant who actually lasts a while. They have the two kinds of surprise entrants. They have the surprise entrant of the guy who gets eliminated right away. He's the joke entrant. Then they have the surprise entrant who's the guy who actually like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Is this guy back? Is he back for good, or is this a one-off? And Biaggi's the one that you're like, he makes it to the final four guys. There's always the end of the Royal Rumble. There's four guys. They stand in each corner, and they're like holding the ropes. They're all looking at each other before the final act of the Rumble happens. Biaggi's definitely one of the four.
And Jan sent us $5 for the amazing content for the year. And apparently we're in the top 3 for his Spotify podcast listens. If you hadn't realized, everyone listening elsewhere, we're on Spotify. That's how we roll.
Right. Us and Joe Rogan. Spotify had 2 major acquisitions in 2020. 2 solid acquisitions, massive investments that should bear fruit. When they thought, how will we battle Apple? How will we battle the iTunes store, Apple? How are we going to put Sirius XM out of business? They thought, Rogan, it's a given, Rogan. And then they're like, those fucking guys from BrotoGP, they're on to something. There are a couple of Americans on the West Coast, the worst possible place to be to host a live show for their fan base, timing-wise, and we're going to get them on. That's the ones. So Spotify definitely walked us up, but they wanted an exclusive $200 million deal. They wanted me to build a house in Austin and move Dennis and Rob there, but I said, nope. Can't be exclusive. My boys that got iOS, I got to have them on.
Based on true events.
Correct.
Absolutely based on true events.
Absolutely.
I'm going to call this one out. Jen just said that the Royal Rumble sounds like a gangbang. I feel like those photos that Alicia Spargo dropped and the ones that Fabio's been dropping all year, like I could see the ladies getting behind those photos. And
you'll notice
really
at the moment discussion of the sexual nature of the term Royal Rumble, Rob jumped right in to clarify. Then, title of a sex tape.
Damn it. Walked right into that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else we got on the syllabus for this time?
I mean, we're just kind of rounding out Portimao. It reminded me of Nikki's maiden win in a lot of ways that I was excited for it to happen. I kept thinking what could have been, but the race itself was actually pretty boring. Like the race itself was not a great race. I was not like super stoked on the race itself. It felt like very anticlimactic for the year. I mean, Joan Mir has his problem.
Jack and Morbidelli kind of like brought it around, right? They had a rematch from previous races where Jack came out on top this time. And I mean, sure, it was only for second and third place. It didn't happen on the final lap or anywhere near the last corner, but it still worked out for me. So, I mean, I was definitely looking for the exciting things. I was digging in this race.
I gotta think that if there's a Royal Rumble though, Jack, I can just envision him on the fucking turnbuckle at the end, 2 shoes full of beer, Stone Cold style, smashing him together, pouring the beer in his face, pointing at the thing. The sign says like GP Mania 2021. He's smashing the fucking boots, beer and shit is everywhere, and he's pointing at it, and we're thinking, fuck, he's the guy 2021. What happened to Jack this year, man?
Are you going to actual racing? Like, is that a segue?
I'm using the Royal Rumble.
Let me just say that I love it when Kevin pantomimes every time he tells a story. It's like it just adds that extra layer to the richness of the story.
He did the double shoey for the Australians.
I know.
That's what you gotta do.
Awesome.
Yeah,
but that being said, I'm actually surprised.
He took the fucking cans and smashed them and then fucking poured them down.
Well, okay. So what happened to Jack? I actually think that this was kind of Jack's like breakout year in GP because he's still on.
I was going to say the same thing. The last few rounds, he definitely got up there, and I'm going to be looking forward to what he can do on the factory Ducati next season.
I'm not looking forward to that. I feel like this year with factory Ducati struggling so much with Petrucci and Dovizioso is just making me question, and with Petronas doing better than factory Yamaha. I just question whether or not moving to a factory team is like part a curse. Like if you're wasting valuable time and effort, like developing new parts where the factory team, where the satellite team is just on race pace all the time. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's not like Jack Miller isn't already getting factory support from Ducati, because Ducati in recent years has spread out their support between more riders than any of the other factories have. But it's just a question. It's just something hanging over my head. Like, I wonder if he's going to go slower.
2020 is such a crazy year that is being on a factory team actually worse? Sounds like one of those crazy things Everett says in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, what are you even talking about? What are you talking about? Where'd that come from? And Rob is literally just saying, like, is being on a factory team is a bad career move? Yeah. And we're all like, fuck, man. Like, I don't know.
God damn it, Everett. No, I mean, and it's a terrible year. What the 2020 to make me even consider that? I mean, there are two standout riders on the Ducatis for this year, and it's Zarco and Miller. And it seems like they were able to get a handle on the new Michelin rear tire and the Ducati chassis. Yeah.
The guy who crashed the most this year did not get a handle on the new Michelin tire. He had the most crashes.
True. But he would. But it seemed like
technically correct.
Technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
No, it's just it like when you're looking, the results are tempered by expectations, right? Like Dovizioso seemed to only get good results this year because he was kind of gifted performance at Styria or Austria, or he like in the final race here, tire wear was a major concern, and Dovizioso did what Dovizioso does. He saved the tires, had more pace at the end of the race, and came forward through the pack. Whereas Zarco kind of took the opposite approach. Faster during qualifying because Dovizioso could never qualify, and then Zarco just holds on. And then Jack Miller was the combination of the two, like had a handle on the tire wear the majority of the time, had good qualifying pace, and was able to turn it into better results and was able to finish higher up in the championship. Like it's absolutely absurd that that we're talking about Jack Miller potentially going slower at the factory team, but it is what it is.
I mean, it's an interesting. It was odd to see the factory team seem to be the least able to make adjustments, like the least able to adapt, whereas the satellite teams seem to be able to adapt more, which is generally not how it goes. But I also think it's a proof of concept that the Dorna rules that started with CRT and have been slowly, continually, evolved and nuanced has borne fruit. I mean, look at
Dennis,
this year.
I got something.
Well, or as we were talking about in the chat, perhaps a condensed season just doesn't lend itself to ongoing development. Perhaps a condensed season is where, the older tech, the ones that have been fully developed, is when they're going to be useful.
Or the entire paddock is now getting better as a whole at developing GP bikes, right? And there's now more technical expertise in the satellite teams because of proper funding and more people just learning that satellite teams can actually accomplish the things that only factory teams could do before.
That's the wish. That's the wish.
I still think a huge portion of it is no Marquez. And it's not that Marquez runs the paddock, but I think that no Marquez has given a confidence boost to guys. If there was a Marquez, Miguel Oliveira would be thinking, I want a fucking podium for my home race. But with no Marquez, it's I'm going to fucking win. Like, I think the no Marquez has changed the paradigm for a lot of these guys.
So you think it's a larger change than just bumping everyone down one spot?
I think absolutely. Because it's not bumping everyone down one spot. It's telling everyone I can win. Everyone can win. Anyone can win. If Zarco won a race, we wouldn't have been surprised. right? Like I'm telling you, I'm surprised Jack Miller didn't win multiple races. Like there's, I think actually this season was a massive letdown for Jack, and I think he's part of the changing of the guard on the wrong side. He is what guard is being changed. Like he is going to get passed by the new school. Like he's the transition. He's going to get passed by Binder, Miguel Oliveira, Fabio, Franco. I think all of these guys are actually more talented and better than Jack, and Jack missed his fucking window. Not entirely his fault, but
like Maverick was the definitely getting passed by, and now Jack is the probably getting passed by.
Correct. But I think that Marquez not being there makes everyone think I can win. And the moment you think you can win and you're willing to put it out there, like we talked back to the old school days, right? When Kenny Roberts and John Hopkins, old school days, they're riding 4-stroke GSVRs in like 2003 and 4 and 5. And Kenny Roberts said, like, look, man, I'm not going to fucking kill myself to get 6th. You know what I mean? But these guys, right? And then John Hopkins like would. He would just ride and crash like crazy because he might get top 5. But I think all of these guys just realized if I can get an extra 0.2, I win the race. And they're all trying harder, and they're all pushing mentally harder than they ever would have without Mark. And now they've all have that taste of victory. They all got a taste for blood now.
The lack of Mark was just like the cherry on top, right? Because the entire grid has come together and has gotten significantly closer. Like now you have to be, to get into Q2, you have to be within like 0.4 of pole position, which is absolutely absurd. So before it was, you had to be within that many tenths to even get near the podium. Now it's the cherry on top of like, holy shit, Mark is gone. And now that crazy effort is a win.
You know, and I'm aware Jack is only 25, Todd Murphy, but look how long he's been in GP. I'm not blaming Jack. In fact, we've talked about this with Scott Redding too. Jack, there's the fucking cat. That's Citra, or is that Pearl?
No, that's Citra.
Yeah, I was right. Jack is a victim of circumstance. I still think Jack is slightly a victim of purposeful, like, I just lost the word I want. I'm drunk enough to not know.
Scott Redding circumstances, but
no,
Jack
like I think they derailed him purposefully. But I think that Jack Miller was the guy. There was Alex Marquez. They thought it was going to be his rival before Alex Marquez had his sort of infamous no-win season in Moto2 that derailed him too. But Jack got put on the production bike, right, which was horrible, and then the Mark VDS team, which was horrible. He's only 25. He's been in GP for like 30 fucking years, right, with a bunch of shit teams. He's only finally getting his shot at a factory bike, but that's long enough to not have the momentum anymore. I mean, hey, Joan Mir's been in GP for 2 years. He's a champion. You know, Franco Morbidelli's been in GP for 2 years. He's got 3 race wins. Fabio's been in GP for 2 years. He's got 3 race wins, a shitload of poles, and a bunch of fucking podiums. You know what I mean? Like these guys, fucking Miguel Oliveira, how long has he been in GP, right? He's got multiple wins now. Like I think Jack's going to be real careful that even though he's only 25, the circumstances of his career are pushing him down.
That's a very good point. Like the top 3 in the championship all have less experience than the 4 below them, right? Than Dovizioso, Pole, Maverick, and Jack. I mean, and that's what we've seen with some of the circumstances, right? Like it's almost better to come into the championship with no previous GP experience,
right,
and learn how to ride whatever the circumstances then, as opposed to coming in with 5 years of riding on different tires or different electronics. I mean, and we specifically saw, like, it took Dovizioso quite a long time to learn the Ducati. Polo Espargaro kind of suffered it out on the KTM. And
then look what Pole didn't do. Didn't win. What did the other guys do? There's Pole fucking sucks. 3 wins. Pole sucks.
Pole sucks.
Right. And I mean, Jack Miller's cool and all, but even according to Jen and her super chats, he's not nearly as fucking fabulous and fashionable. Jack Miller does not. He might shoey and double it and do Attitude Era style, because hell yeah, Cody, Attitude Era for life. I was a Hardy boy for Halloween when I was in high school. Only true OGs know what I'm talking about there. But I don't know. I was making a fashionable fucking Fabio. He wears some crazy shit. Fucking Jack cannot show up wearing like a full length sock like Fabio does and be cool.
I know what outfit you're talking about.
Right.
If we make a Mega World Superbike shirt, will Scott Redding wear it? I feel like I think I know Eugene Laverty's home address, and I
Just
think
send
I
it
could
to
send
him?
one. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he would wear it because he wore one to an Angels game in Southern California and took pictures with our fans.
I
So
just
think
think
that'll
that
happen.
this shirt that obviously needs to be made, if we're talking about making a non-GP one, it's already built in, is that we make a Kyle Wyman Moto America shirt, and it's Y Man. It's already there. His fucking name is his Mega Man name. Right? His name is his Mega Man name.
I'll just print him one and send it to him and call it a day.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, then everyone will want it. Self-promotion.
Right.
Oh, God, I was going to try and not shill so much in this episode, but it's already happening. Did Scott have a headbutt with Broto on social media at some point? No.
I don't think
not
so.
really.
I've never had anything but love for Scott. I don't
The
I mean, you would know better than we would. What are you talking about? I always fucking butcher her name. But you would know better than me.
The only person that we've ever fallen out of rapport with on social media is Mr. Josh Aaron, and we're not entirely sure why.
I mean, I know why. I just don't want to go on to it. But to be frank, I have no problem with Josh or what he does. I wish him nothing but the best. He doesn't seem to enjoy other riders that are also friends of ours, and whatever. But no, we haven't had any falling out with Scott that I know of. I mean, fuck, I would like to talk to Scott. I like Scott. I mean, he's one of my favorite. We made a whole episode.
We did a whole episode on him. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. Beneath the rubber.
Yeah. Jack Gibson just asked,
eccentric.
What's the Dino story? Kev, tell us, what's the Dino story?
What, for reals?
No, just give us the tagline of the Dino story.
Dino! I mean, there was a time period where Scott was fucking nuts on social media, and it was amazing. And he was like at a club in the middle of the night with Chiara Fontessa, and I don't know what was going on. There was like 8 people in this club, and they were just going to strobe light, drunk, probably high, at least rolling off their asses. And he kept screaming Dino because they clearly have a friend named Dino. It was the most amazing. If you guys missed the Dino like stories of his thing years ago, the era of Dino, it was like the greatest thing ever. I don't even want Scott Redding. Well, I want Dino on BrotoGP. I want the inside track on Dino. I need to know who Dino is, what Dino's about, what's going on with Dino. I want Dino on the show.
Sully just asked, what shirt did Eugene wear? So I'm gonna pull it out for you.
It's the original tricolore.
No, he wore this shirt to an Angels game. So the story is that I was hanging out after Laguna at Turn 12, which is a bar in whatever that town is. I can't remember the name of it. And Eugene
on Cannery Row.
Yeah. Either way, we gave Eugene Laverty one of these shirts. Eugene requested that I give one of these shirts to Michael Vandermark, and I did. And I'm not sure that he actually wanted it. Eugene Laverty. Yeah, Dennis is showing.
No, let it settle. Let's go and just let it settle.
But either way,
hold on.
Eugene Laverty wore this shirt to an Angels game, and one of our fans took a picture with him and sent it to us. And that was in Southern California. The picture that Dennis is currently bringing up is when Eugene Laverty and Chaz Davis both were wearing tricolore shirts, which are coming back. Wink, wink. And we attempted to find a bar of a certain style after hours, and we drove there in an Uber, and then they weren't open. That's all I'm saying.
Basically, Rob was trying to get titties in his face. So he can say all he wants. Homeboy was trying to motor boat. Homeboy was, you think you see his IG at RW Pierce 13? You can go to our thing and see it. He likes to fish. He's got a boat. He's catching sharks. He's catching fishes. The dude is a pro motor boater. Why do you think I came up with title of Rob's Sex Take? Because it's funny? No, because Homeboy motor boats for a living on film. Motor boating galore. It's what he does.
Oh, you're hilarious, Kev. All right, we got one more talking point in this episode, and it's it's essentially 2021 and where we're gonna go with Marc Marquez. As Kev brought up earlier, there was a deadline for Marc Marquez's third humerus surgery. Right, there were talks from the guy that actually didn't do either of his surgeries. Da Costa, right? The famous surgeon in Europe.
Yes, keep going.
Someone help me out here. Yeah, he was quoted in saying that he thinks that Marquez needs a third surgery to fix the fact that the bones aren't coming together in his humerus bone. And if he doesn't get it soon, he's going to miss out on winter testing for sure, and then early runnings for the 2021 season. That deadline has since passed. We haven't heard anything because HRC is rather tight-lipped on what's going on with Marc Marquez.
Just like Johnny tight-lips and the symptoms. I ain't saying nothing.
I don't blame him because it's personal information, right? Like any released information, if it's not completely positive, is damaging to his career and is bad for their image. But still,
no, it's all bad because what have you? This guy, we have to do some deduction here for a second. He crashes and breaks his humerus and gets an injury, and he's willing to ride 5 days later. And now, what have you not seen him do? Ride MX, ride dirt track, ride a mini bike. What are everyone else's IGs right now, right? Training 2021 starts now, riding their mini bikes. We haven't seen him do any like rehabilitation, like serious riding. We've seen him doing no training. When Valentino broke his leg, which is the most compared to injury we're talking about, Valentino was out on the R1 for a World Superbike at Misano, right? Not World Superbike, on a Superbike spec bike. We saw that in Misano, right? You've not seen Marquez touch a motorcycle. There's no video of him on a motorcycle whatsoever. There's occasional pictures of him, moving Jorge Lorenzo style pink weights like your mom fucking has when she did Jazzercise, because hell yeah, I remember Jazzercise. And yet we have seen him do nothing. There's no information, and no information is bad when your entire point of your athletic career is low key a branding exercise. Well, you think sponsors are stoked that he's not posting at all on social media? You think that like Gas that may Gas Jeans, not Gas their brand, but Gas Jeans. You think that all those companies are stoked Poland Bear that he's not posting shit? No, of course not. The people paid millions of dollars to be sponsored by him, and he's not there. Why is he not there? Where is he? How come he's not spinning a couple laps on his home track, right? How come he's not spinning? This guy was so big on dirt track and so big on using that for training that he had Super Prestigio and made an entire quarter-mile racetrack series post-race just basically to show that he could ride dirt track, and we haven't seen a single Instagram story, Facebook post, little, Twitter fucking reel, whatever those are called now. No Snapchats of him writing anything. Homeboy is way more fucked than they're letting on.
Is it that he's not posting, or are those sponsors getting their worth in some other fashion, right? Because he can still go to photo shoots, he can still wear the clothing, he can still do it, like meet fans. He just can't do this or that. Right?
Actually, what he can't do, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Oh,
he can't do that with nuance.
He definitely can't do that. Kev just pulled the brake lever. He can't do that.
It's his right arm. There's a reason why he's not riding motorcycles anywhere whatsoever, because he can't move his hand reliably because he has nerve damage from his radial nerve that passes through the humerus that's been damaged in the plate, because he's atrophying like crazy because he has so many injuries to his shoulder that he's not healing correctly anymore. We talked about this. The number one worry post surgically repaired humeral fracture is atrophy to the shoulder. His shoulder is already atrophied galore, atrophy to the shoulder and the elbow. I'm not a medical professional at all, but you can only deduct so many things. Dennis is sighing super hard. Go for it, Dennis.
This is just too depressing. This is just depressing me. This is just not the way that I legitimately wanted somebody like him to be beat. That's it, hands down.
Someone asked in the chat if a writer's ever missed the entire season and come back like successfully, and I can't recall.
I mean,
anything.
Nick Duhan has missed entire seasons, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure offhand, but the question is, how many reigning champions scored 0 points? 0.
I mean, aside from
even Crivier,
aside from actually retiring,
right?
None.
No, I mean, I'm obviously, but even what means aside from retiring, what reigning champion retired and then didn't race as a champion? What are you talking about? Like,
none in GP that I can think of. I was just thinking of other championships.
Yeah, I think he's way more damaged than you're letting on based on that evidence or the lack thereof. There's no way that you don't ride your Honda MX bike. It's fucking winter. They're trying to sell CRF 250s. They're trying to sell those bikes. Right? Like, get him Mark Marquez ripping one of those for Christmas season. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Right? Like, he would be ripping. He's going to go spin some dirt tracks. 2021 starts now. Rehabbing. I'm good. Spinning rides on my CRF 250R. You know what I mean? Brought to you by HRC Honda Motorsports Racing at Honda.com. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the idea that he's not spinning laps on those things and doing any training whatsoever. I mean, maybe it's a big ruse to explode out, but I don't think that they have the tactical marketing to hold something under wraps for that long to have a true Royal Rumble style reveal a la WWE.
I honestly think that they're giving their sponsors like the bare minimum and just making sure that they get because motorcycle sponsors Cycle Gear, right, has been running when Rossi and Nicky were on Ducatis. You can go into a Cycle Gear store now, at least in California, and still see Nicky and Valentino on a Ducati up on their banners or on the footage that they play on their televisions, right? Like Kawasaki in World Superbike gets so much press from the fact that they win championships and they just have graphic.
If you get a Kawasaki Let the Good Times Roll credit card, Johnny Ray's right on that bad boy. Isn't that the greatest fucking thing ever? You don't want to get full coverage insurance. You want to just get that thing right after that. You don't want to get a bank involved. You just want 28% APR after 2 years on your fucking credit card so you can get your ZX6 636. Let the good times roll, baby.
And this is a true story, but this is how I got my first bike.
That's what's up. See, that's what I'm saying. Dennis had to let the good times roll.
But so that's exactly what the sponsors are going to get from Marc Marquez, even if he's not riding the motorcycle, right? HRC is still going to say, X number of championships because of Marquez. Like, even if they lost the championship this year, they're still going to say 6 times world champion.
Right.
And so I got to imagine that HRC is still giving their sponsors the bare minimum out of that. Like, I mean, we've said this before. We're American. We don't speak Spanish, even though Dennis.
What? Yo hablo español. Speak for yourself.
we don't speak enough Spanish to be a part of the Spanish speaking
world.
world. There you go. And we're removed from what goes on in the Spanish speaking world with, I mean, we've said this about Danny Pedrosa. We're probably saying it now about Marc Marquez. They're getting some amount of promotion from Marc Marquez and him not being in the championship, and it still exists. So I'm not going to assume that the sponsors are getting absolutely nothing.
You're saying they're getting the bare minimum amount of flair? The bare minimum. You're saying they're getting 23 pieces of IG story flair. How many pieces of flair? Let me explain to you something, Rob. The Nazis had flair that they made the Jews with.
Oh,
God. You should not have gone there. If everyone could just go watch Office Space.
Right.
Jennifer Aniston's pieces of flair are amazing. That was Never mind. Moving
Yeah.
on.
Moving on.
Yeah, I just it's a sad state of affairs. Like, let's go back to Dennis's point a little bit here.
I enjoy the fact that Sully wants to know if BrotoGP can make some goddamn hoodies. Sweaters did interest me, but the person who happens to be asking that question on the super chats has a vested interest in whether we decide to make hoodies or not.
Is Sully a part of printing shirts these days?
I mean,
maybe tricolore shirts.
He's involved in some of the shirts. Yes.
Yeah.
If you look at the shirts behind you, he's involved in at least 20% of them.
More than that.
Right.
You did say at least. Yes, no, hoodies. It is winter. It's winter. There's a chance.
Yeah, but it's not really winter because we're all in California. So I'm clearly in a t-shirt with no heat in this room, and I'm not wearing shoes. Rob lives in San Diego.
You live in a barn. Dennis is in a garage and is also in a t-shirt.
Yes, correct.
And I live in San Diego when it's never winter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sully,
I fell and got a massive laceration on my arm 2 days ago, and I have 15 box stitches in my arm. So if you know anything about healthcare, that's not a good amount of box stitches. And my biggest worry is that if I wear a long sleeve shirt to protect it, I'm sweating. It's like 70. Right? So I can't just wear like a flannel or a thermal to protect it. So I'm like, do I get it dirty or do I get it sweaty?
No, Kev would rather get bloody than sweaty. That's
exactly.
how he rolls.
Bloody and sweaty is also the title of Rob's sex tape.
No, it's not. Someone just said in the chat, in Tampa, we have a cold week. And yeah, that's right. It's the same thing with San Diego. It's below 70 in Texas this week.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, that happens.
The main difference is it never really gets above 90 either, where we're at.
Oh, yeah. Texas and Tampa.
Right.
I don't understand why everyone on the planet doesn't live in San Diego.
Tampa is just like having swamp butt 8 months out of the year. It's like living in swamp butt.
That's why everyone wears board shorts and bikinis the whole year round.
Correct.
It makes so much sense. What were we talking about before we went way off topic? I have had way too much beer. This beer is strong.
That is right. Yeah, this burrito is good, but it is filling. Which is weird because he threw that out the window, hit a guy on a motorcycle who crashed, and instead of kicking Baxter off of the bridge, he should have gone to writerslaw.com and said, I was involved in an accident on a motorcycle which I was operating legally within the limits of vehicle code, and a burrito hit me and caused me to fall out through no fault of my own. Little side quest, did you guys not realize there's actually not only is there Anchorman 2, but there's another Anchorman because when they started filming that movie, they didn't know what the story would be, and there's 2 separate original Anchormans. And this is a thing I'm not joking about. This is an actual true thing where there was a second story about him uncovering like a terrorist plot. There's like an Anchorman 1.2.
Is it on YouTube?
I had like a bootleg DVD of it back in like 2005.
Yeah, but you also had like bootleg DVDs that you found in a dumpster.
Yes, I did. VHS? Right, those were Mexican VHS porn. Don't you talk bad about my Mexican VHS porn. You already tried to say I don't even speak Spanish when you all have Espanol, and your homeboy watches fucking porn in Spanish. Muy caliente. Muy caliente. But anyways,
let's bring it back. So we're gonna go with Mark Marquez's humorous bone is not muy caliente because he needs a third surgery. Let's make a terrible BrotoGP prediction before we round this one out, or actually before we ask for listener questions. Hint. Is Mark Marquez going to make the first round of the 2021 season?
Nope.
Oh, damn.
Nope.
Qatar is slated for March 28th.
Nope.
Given that it's still March 17th, 2020.
He does not race the race.
Definitely not going to. Shit.
Make
Why do we all agree?
Make the round. He might show up in Qatar, and he might actually ride. I do not think he's going to race round 1. He will not suit up and finish the race of his own volition.
Yeah, he may like start the first lap, put on a good show, pull into the pits, but
Correct.
I agree. He's not going to finish the race. He's not going to be in significant pain. Mahiri says Brattle wins Qatar.
Gangster.
That's like that's a lot of assumptions. That's saying
Brattle winning Qatar gets Qatar, he or she a free shirt.
Done. Absolutely. Right. You can hold us to that one as now recorded evidence. That means that Marquez doesn't start the weekend such that HRC brings in Brattle, then Brattle has an amazing weekend and wins Qatar. I mean, he did do interesting things at Portimao. What position did he finish? Where is he? He got 7th. Some
69.
Good showing early on. What?
Nothing. Just being an idiot.
Essentially the whole chat is saying that something between no, he won't make the race, he won't dress for the race, it's not going to happen, he's going to get P6 in qualifying, also anyone but pole.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
this is the correct answer. This is the way.
All right, what's another terribly bad BrotoGP prediction that we can make?
I think I'm ready for questions from the viewers, but or the listeners. But I mean, I don't think that's a terribly bad prediction. To be honest, we fuck around a lot and we drink a lot. Rob has been drinking the whole time. He said he's too much drink. I'm like definitely 3/4 the way through this fucking twist top bottle of wine. So our predictions on the show are not always obviously great because we're straight up alcoholics. But
we have a request.
Hold on, I'll get there. I said that riding Jerez 2 would go down was a catastrophic error. I can't believe it happened. The moment he crashed and got hurt, I said they're going to let him ride the next round. It's going to be a disaster, and it's going to fuck everything up. The one thing that we've been consistently about, and my boy Ryan, who's on our Twitter page a lot, obviously was in line with me, like... That was an absolute disaster. We've been right about it. When it comes to his injury, we've been right about it every single time. And I think
right about it.
I have been right about it. Yes. I think that his injury is, we've already talked about it. I don't want to rehash, but I think he has something larger going on. And I think one of the reasons we haven't seen him actually on a motorcycle during his rehab, which would be like what everyone does. They all ride mini bikes. They all train. They all get ready. That's how you get back to being used to it, is something's wrong with the operation of his right hand. He's not abducting his elbow correctly when he was celebrating Alex Marquez's podium, from far back. His arm is moving weird. He has to lift his elbow out to lift his arm up, and I think there's something going on with his nervous system beyond atrophy.
It's a bad look for the now not reigning world champion, especially Correct. To be in the what we kind of deem to be the most professional, most well-funded, and just biggest part of GP.
Yes, I think the whole thing has been an abject disaster for everyone involved. And I think you've seen the first cracks in what will eventually be everyone pointing blame at someone else and trying to be not involved.
It would be like Michael Jordan, like rolling an ankle and never playing another basketball game ever again.
Right, because he had an injury and everyone said, well, no, you got to play because we get paid if you play.
Oh, pure capitalism right there. Mm-hmm. Bilal gave us $20 saying that,
oh my God, Marquez, my dog
will never win another boat. And by boat, he means ship. And by ship, championship.
He means boat because not unlike Rob, homeboy likes to motor boat too.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. All right, Kev.
Does he win another championship? That's a big question. It's one of those where it's hard to bet against him because he's done so well, but it's really easy to do well when everything's going well. Does he win another one? Everyone instantly points to, oh, well, McDoohan came back. Yeah, the one miraculous guy. The reason y'all remember that one story from 30 years ago is because that wasn't supposed to happen. The idea of it repeating itself conceptually in some way is so far-fetched. Like, I think the biggest problem is he finally found a real like consequence. He's basically been like consequence free almost his entire career, right? Like even when he got his eye injury, that was still Moto2, but MotoGP, he's lived almost consequence free his entire GP career. Now he actually has the consequence. That consequence is connected to visceral pain, actual pain and suffering. And on top of it, we have the same thing we just talked about, which is everyone is like, all those guys that have won, they've got the taste for blood now. Just like those dogs when they were in Shelbyville and he was going to throw some meat to the dogs so they wouldn't catch the kids and run, boy, he's got the taste for meat now. It's the same thing. The Lemon Tree episode, by the way, if you're asked what your favorite Simpsons episode is, the Lemon Tree episode is a good alternative to King Size Homer. I think you're telling me that Miguel Oliveira gives half of a fuck the fact that Marquez at one point was champion and he bumped them people around. Miguel Oliveira is going to stuff it on the inside, hit it with a mad block pass. No one gives it. They're not afraid of this dude anymore. That's part of the changing of the guard. Is the old guard? They were kept chasing this guy. They were afraid of this guy. He had their number. He has psychological advantage. He was like Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson got knocked out, right? He was Mike Tyson when he had them beat before they walked into the ring. He was when they were going to get knocked out. They were terrified of the guy. They didn't want to be there to get go. Marquez had most of those guys beat before they ever started the season. Fucking Miguel Oliveira, Brad Binder, even Fabio. You think Franco gives half a fuck about Marquez? No, come on. He doesn't care. You saw how him and Jack fucking battle. He gives no fucks.
They're all 100% confident, 110% confident that Mark is going to come into the 2021 season whenever he does, and he's not going to win the race.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're going to eat him alive. Speaking of eating him alive, Kev, is it okay if I put your unstitched up arm photo on the stream?
I haven't.
I mean, if they won't like get rid of it, so
I'm gonna put it.
I tried to put it on Instagram, and Instagram censored it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was like, hey, BrotoGP, we're this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Shit's going to get crazy. How crazy do you ask? And I posted the picture of the arm, and they fucking censored it.
All right.
Like 8 people were like, no, it's censored.
I'm not violating HIPAA. Kev gave me permission. I'm gonna hit update the stream, and you're going to tell us about the story. There we go. Go for it.
We got to wait for people to see the photo first. So...
It's right next to your
They
face.
should probably stop eating whatever they're eating right now.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy of a story in the sense that I was up about 3 hours from where I am doing a little side work on Sunday because I didn't do anything for Thanksgiving because the COVID kind of surge upon a surge that's happening. And my brother went up there and we're doing some work on a house under construction, and I'm in the back of a truck, and I'm walking along. Everything's great. I'm going to make some money, and I fucking slip. I mean, banana peel style, guys. Like, literally, someone dropped one Mario Kart, and I just fucking hit it. I stepped right off the truck, an elevated truck, right? A big flatbed, and I eat shit from like 6 feet in the air. I just, and I fucking fall. I mean, full prone, just schlub. Bam on the driveway. I go like this and I just fall. I didn't have time to think. Luckily, I didn't stick my hand out and just collapse and break my shoulder and arm, break my humerus, and put myself out of my job for 18 months and no longer be the reigning champion of construction that I am. And I land. It's a gravel driveway. Within 100 fucking feet of me is nothing but dirt in any direction. Just gravel and dirt. It's a house under construction. It's a gravel driveway. And what is there but a fucking piece of a jagged hunk of stainless steel. And I land directly on it. And I look down at it and I see what you see on the photo now, which is essentially the meat and fat and bone in my body. And it's so deep, it's not even bleeding. It's just like, hey, there is my fucking bone. And I have a massive one. And if you guys know where the area of Walla Sea Ranch, Annapolis is, you can look it up. I am at least 3 hours from a hospital, right? In the middle of
if you're gonna do it, you do it well.
Right, title of Rob's sex tape. And I have like just this massive gaping wound in my arm, which is obviously disgusting. So I roll into the house, the homeowner's there, and I'm working with my brother, by the way, and I'm like, hey, yo, we got something going on. And he goes, can it wait? And I'm like, not really. Can you come out here, please? I have something I got to talk to you about. And so I show him the fucking wound, and he's like, well, that's a drag because we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And like, we're so far away that eventually the lady at the house says that the doctor's office in this town, however far away from us, is closed, but I have her number, and she just calls the doctor. And the doctor's like, no, you have to have an appointment. And the fucking homeowner is like, no, I'm making the appointment now. His arm is going to like fall off. And the doctor's like, yeah, I can stitch him up. It's fine. So I just drive to the house, and the doctor, we're so remote in California that this is the only clinic that has helicopter and ambulance admitting like protocols in the state of California, because we're this far from like a town. We're this far from any hospital or any urgent care or right. It's the only one. The only non-urgent care emergency room facilities that will accept an ambulance or a life flight helicopter ride.
The funny part is in the photo, like the person's wearing like scrub or some surgical outfit and got the rubber gloves, and in the background, I can't tell what's in the background, but maybe it's someone's like terrible carpet and like a little desk in the thing.
Right. It's just like an office. The place is like as big as the room you're in right now. Yeah, and she's like, yeah, we're good. And then so obviously I have some tattoos, and she's like, oh, is your tattoo ruined? I'm like, I don't really fucking care. I have a lot of really bad tattoos on top of the good ones. And she's like, oh, it's actually good because the tattoos has let me know how to do it up, how to like put it back, because you're missing a hunk of skin. You're not just cut, but you're gouged. Yeah. And I realized that I'm not missing the hunk of skin because my brother texts me and says, hey, yo, I've got your skin. But it's a hunk of tattooed skin because I have a sleeve. So he sends me like a picture of him holding my skin, and he's like, check out this piece of orange and green skin, just so you know, like, this was your body. And right, so he drives me to the clinic, and then he's gonna go back and work, because I'm like, I'm trying to get paid, son. I'm about the dollars, because not unlike Rob, I'm down with the fucking motorboating at strip clubs, except I'm okay with saying the term strip club. And so anyways, she stitches me up, and she's like, you did pretty good here. And I end up having to get like 15 stitches. Most of them are a kind of stitch, I think box stitch, some random kind of stitch that's more advanced than a normal stitch. And in fact, I have to write it down. So when I call Kaiser and say I have box stitches that need to be removed, it's a whole thing. But if you've seen the photo, it obviously looks like straight up hamburger.
Yep. Hamburger under your extra custom tattoos.
Correct.
Dennis, we are not going to auction off Kev's skin, because
totally we are, man.
No, we're not. You did not put the lotion
Super
on the
chat
skin.
for Kev's skin. Super chat for Kev's skin. I'm pretty sure if we start trying to sell body parts live on YouTube, like the NSA is showing up at our door. We're gonna have to go to Parlor, and we're gonna have the fucking BrotoGP be on Parlor and be surrounded by some crazy fucking conspiracy people, all because we're trying to sell my body parts live on the air.
I can't believe you just said Parlor. Mahiri just said the Portuguese fan has been asking for a piece of Kev.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, man, money making opportunity right here.
Yep,
and the good thing is that it regenerates, right? The skin regenerates anyway.
It's not like the liver. You end up with a massive scar.
So this is what it looks like now. It's kind of hard to see.
Move it to move it the other side. No, the other way. Further. Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't look that bad now, but obviously the picture you saw was pretty gnarly. The worst part is like a year and a half ago, I had a hard time recording because I tore my rotator cuff, and then I slipped and got injured. How fucking old am I? I'm like as old as Dennis. What the hell is going on? I'm like slipping and hurting myself, trying to rotate cup. Like I'm like Mark Marquez. I fucking seen my mortality right now.
Dennis's face just melted when you said you're as old as Dennis.
Right. I mean, that was a little jab. I threw it in there.
You are as old as Dennis, but you didn't have to bring it up.
No, that's okay because he's got more grades than I do.
There's no doubt about that. That's been the case since I was 26.
Yeah.
The self Filipino haircut. Oh, Eric just bid $2 on your skin.
Yeah.
My God.
That's good. That's fucking championship caliber skin. You can't just get that anywhere. You gotta grow that.
I can't believe I'm gonna post this to you.
That's cultivated.
What were there were some other questions that weren't related to Kevin's skin before I went there, or that were actually related to motorcycle racing. Scroll. Wow, I have to really I have to scroll really far back up. Tito's too rich to be in World Superbike. Yeah, which MotoGP rider will be the next World Superbike champion? I mean, does Scott Redding have the cojones to win it? To me, it's not Scott Redding. Ducati. Can Ducati actually put it together? For Scott Redding.
Hey man, someone just upped though. The problem is Steve Kurtz just upped to fucking Annie $2.99 for the skin hunk. You want a piece of my epidermis, which Nelson Muntz falsely claimed was your hair in the episode where Bart hurts his arm, falls out of thing, and then becomes a weirdo in a classic homage to a famous horror movie, Rear View. Hey, you want a hunk of my epidermis, you got to bid a cool $3 to be on it. $3 dues. You could make a phone call to Australia with that money.
Okay, so Niels asks, have we discussed Joe Roberts? Yes, that was at the very beginning. Sully asks, is Lou Diamond Phillips really my dad? Yes, that is absolutely true. And then the one and only Will wants us to talk about Jorge throwing shade at Cal online.
This is this whole Cal Jorge fight is so weird because like it's only a fight because Cal's kind of a personality. Because like Cal is great and all, but Jorge Lorenzo is a 3-time MotoGP champion. Just ask him; he'll remind you, as Cal famously said. Cal isn't like fit. Cal has won a couple races, but he's not like fit to hold Jorge's jock from like a race standpoint. But I've said this before on the podcast. The whole thing stems from the fact that they got rid of Jorge to get Cal to be their test rider, which I think 100% is the correct call.
Didn't they get rid of Cal? Oh no, they got rid of Cal at Ducati for Iannone, who then was taken over by Jorge. There's too many steps in between there.
I think that Cal is
$350 for your skins.
$350. That's what's up right there.
$351.
I have to call my brother and say, hey, that hunk of skin that you still have, I have to mail it to someone. The worst part is if you guys bid for this and you bought a shirt, fucking Rob has your address. Like, I know Jen's address because we've sent her shirts. I'm going to send her a hunk of my skin.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
No, we are. No, we are.
Okay. No, we're not.
The hunk was like as big as my pinky finger. It's like the whole thing about this cut and the reason why it looks so weird is they had to like hold it together to fucking tie it off, and that's where she made the comment that your tattoo is great because it's giving me a way to line things back up so it like heals relatively okay. Like for the tattoo, it's giving her like the ability to line it up because there was a gouge because it was just a hunk of stainless steel that someone cut by hand with like tin snips. So it wasn't like a nice curved piece. Anyone who knows anything about like sheet metal or
tin snips have never cut anything straight ever.
Correct, exactly. And if there's someone who knows about nothing being straight ever, it's Rob.
Eric just donated $4. Not sure if I want to win.
Yeah, you do. That's 50 cents. Sorry, Jen.
This is This is terrible. We're gonna get banned from YouTube ever.
Rob texted me before we started this episode. I can't find any beer. I'm in a bad mood. Let's just make this one quick, or if it's not, let's get it high energy. And 2 hours later, we're bidding on Kevin's dead skin.
Brian Thorne just sent $4.99.
This is amazing.
I can't even.
Right.
All BrotoGP had to do to get more super chats was partially decapitate Kev.
Right. What's the deal with that? I either have to have my cat be in desperate veterinary need, or I have to actually hurt myself.
Hey, we're all a slave for the wages. All right.
Fuck.
Yeah, you got to suffer for your art, Kevin. You got to suffer for your art. That's what it is.
Right. Exactly.
Any super chat that calls out Kev's skin goes directly to Kev. I'm not taking any piece of that. I should not have used the word piece in there.
Yeah.
Hey, we could take the money and get Kevin a new tattoo.
Right. Got to have some skin in the game. Right. Oh, he's gonna stir fry it. Oh my god.
Oh no, Sully for $9.99.
So it's just like in fucking Hannibal, where he's just serving up Ray Liotta his own brain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was Brain. That's right.
Right? Remember that was Ray Liotta too.
Yep.
It's just his own brain in that movie.
We need Kev's brain.
Exactly.
We need it. It's the only reason why you guys come to this show. All right.
Yeah. All right. Any actual racing questions, or are we just gonna keep bidding on? Because we got bidder here, we got a bidder here, we got a $2.99 here, $3.99 here. Who wants to get this skin? Here we go. $3.99, $4.99 over here. We go the man in the corner. I mean, I can
no.
666.
Kyle McDuffie bet 666, and he's 333 behind.
Give me skin.
We were talking about a Jorge and Cal. It's kind of nice to see what invariably might be the worst Yamaha test rider ever get into a social media fight with the new test rider. And I do kind of think that Cal is going to do a good job, because it still seems like he has that fire to actually ride the motorcycle, and he's already ridden the Yamaha before. He spent plenty of time on the Yamaha, and he has experience being the de facto Yamaha test rider, because he was literally developing parts at race weekends for them at LCR. So
Honda, you mean, Mr. I have had too much beer.
What was I not?
You've been saying Yamaha, but you meant Honda.
Oh, yeah, no, I meant Honda. Thank you, Kev.
Right.
Yes, Mr. I've had too much beer. The tall boy is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite an experience behind Cal, and if he just rides the bike more than Jorge does, he's gonna make a pretty good test rider. That's like the nicest thing I've ever said about Cal.
Soon, these super chats, you're gonna need to get a Kawasaki Let the Good Times Roll credit card to afford my skin. That's Kawasaki. Let the good skin roll.
And like everyone wanted Jorge to be a test rider, because they were very pro
Everyone
Jorge.
wanted Jorge to be a test rider because they wanted him to wild card and fight for wins or podiums. That was like a crazy story, right? Cal will actually be a better test rider. We've talked about this before, and I've said it on our websites, or excuse me, on our social medias. I don't think you want the former world champion to be your test rider, because the ego clash is too weird. If Mav and Rossi or Franco or Fabio say, I really feel like I need this kind of front end feel, and you tell the test rider, okay, this is what we're looking for, go search for it, find it, we work on these settings and get what it wants. Well, Lorenzo's going to say, no, this is obviously the best way to have it set up, and I know, because I won 3 championships on this bike, and I beat the champion, well, until Joan Mir, doing this setup. I think
Yamaha was honeypotted by Jorge, because we kept talking about how he could only win if the track if it was 70 degrees outside and the track was 95 degrees, and he had this specific tires. Meaning, if they could make a bike where even Jorge could win on it, then everyone else could do the same thing. They were honeypotted by BrotoGP.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he got honeypotted by the fact that his resume was insane, right? He has the best resume of any test rider around, better than Casey Soto's resume, right? He's a 3-time world champion, and he's the only guy at the time who'd beaten the champion. right? Heads up. He beat Marquez heads up in 2015. Straight shot, beat him, right, for the title. So he could say, like, I know how a Yamaha needs to be developed to beat this guy because I'm the one who did it. But I think there's too much of an ego clash. There's an ego. You can't have that. People need to know their role. Like, too many cooks in the kitchen. You got to know your role. It's like a military squad. You can't have too many lieutenants or too many generals because people need to fall in line. Cal is absolutely, he's good enough. He's a race winner to develop that bike and tell you honestly what it needs. But he's also the kind of guy who will take his orders and do his job, right? He's the kind of guy who will say like Danny's that. Danny, in a weird way, by not being world champion in the premier class, set him up to be the guy that would help KTM so well because he's just there to make that bike a winner. He's just there to do his job and listen. And I'm going to tell you what I think. And if the riders want this and the technicians want this and the engineers want this, I'm going to work on this. Lorenzo's not going to do that, whereas Cal is.
Danny Pedrosa's effort with KTM is actually contributing to his legacy. Right, like if that bike becomes amazing, everyone's they're going to bring up Danny Pedrosa's name whenever they talk about race wins with KTM. Whereas if Jorge improved the M1 in a tiny amount and Fabio or Maverick won the championship, no one's going to bring up Jorge. His crowning achievement is the titles.
Jorge still posts acts and has the presence like he's a active racer. Danny obviously took the back seat and took his job in the shadows, and I'm just here to ride a bike and do my job. I think Cal will be very similar. When you look at Cal, when Cal is the test rider, you're going to see photos of Cal riding in San Diego, going past Rob's house, flipping it off, coming back past Rob's house, flipping it off with both hands. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna.
Kevin's on a bicycle, by the way.
On a bicycle, right? But what you're not gonna see is Cal acting like he's an active racer who's fighting for wins and titles. Lorenzo still kind of runs that playboy lifestyle, which is fine. He earned that, but it's not the best look for a test rider.
I think Cal will be somewhere in between Danny Pedrosa and Jorge Lorenzo. Right. Like I find it to be a little weird, or just, I mean, not weird, but just surprising that Danny Pedrosa straight up disappeared off the face of the earth and it like just went for test rider. And I find it weird that Danny Pedrosa didn't take the Iker Lecuona seat at Portimao and Mika Kallio got it. Like because the announcer specifically said Mika hasn't been riding the bike very much because Danny's been doing all the testing. So why did Danny not?
Because he's done. Because Danny knows that the fucking first rule from BrotoGP's law, he will not ride any bike but the Repsol Honda in a race. That goes back like 100 episodes.
Probably more than that. We're on 144 right now. I forgot to do my welcome to BrotoGP at the very beginning.
Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode 144, and we're here to auction off some skin. Do you want a piece of a human body that's been partially tattooed? No, bid. You can be yours for $10 flat.
Because Sully only donated $9.99.
Correct. Welcome to BrotoGP. Did you crash your bike, have an accident, and are missing some of your own skin and need legal representation to recoup that skin investment? Please visit riderslawwithc.com.
That's RIDEERZLAW.com.
Exactly.
So back to my original point there. Cal will be somewhere in between Jorge and Danny Pedrosa. Like Jorge definitely seemed like all social media, very limited testing, especially because we found out that he didn't even go to some of the tests where Dorna had set it up for them to test out tires at new tracks like Portimao. And Danny Pedrosa, I actually don't know if he tested at Portimao, but it seemed like he did so much testing in the background where Eric said $10.01 and
yes
for the skin. Oh my god. Oh, I lost my train of thought. And Danny Pedrosa did all testing, no social media presence. Like, I mean, we put him on a thumbnail for an episode a long time ago about how he was going to improve the KTM and how he was going to be part of their resurgence. but that's the last we've ever seen of him. He hasn't done anything public since. And so Cal will be somewhere in the middle. He's definitely gonna, maybe I'll go on a bike ride with him. He's gonna kick my ass. And but he'll ride the bike, and I think he's gonna do a good job. I think he's exactly what Yamaha needs. Someone that gives it to him straight, tells him like, hey, you have all of these problems. You there's no way you can pass anyone on a racetrack because you've got no horsepower, you don't have enough drive grip, and you're pushing the braking too hard, and you're not going to win enough races to win a title. So Cal will be able to say those exact things with backing it up upon riding the bike. So he's going to make a great test rider for Yamaha.
Yeah, I think Cal is exactly what they need. Now they just have to actually get him on the bike and test. But I don't think Cal rocks the boat. He knows his place within the system, right? He knows he's going to get paid well to be a test rider. He knows that living in the Isle of Man, he doesn't even fucking pay taxes, so he's getting paid extra well. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why
think
he's
Cal
so fast on a bike, because he rides with Mark Cavendish all the time, living on the Isle of Man.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a reference. I know, yeah, Mark Cavendish and whatnot. Yeah, I definitely know what Rob's talking about right now.
Yeah. Cycling. Yeah, it happens. They canceled the Isle of Man TT. Good.
The correct call. I mean, I know it's way off track, but Isle of Man is one of the few places in the world whose life is pretty much back to normal, New Zealand style, where COVID is mostly non-existent. They've obviously, being a small island nation who can control their borders, that's the correct call for them. I don't think that it's not worth it. Like that one motorcycle race, it may be a big hunk of their economy, but the amount of shutdowns that would take place if they did have an outbreak, their average age is pretty high. I was actually looking at the demographics today when I saw the news, and like 40% of their demographics is over the age of 50. Like, it's just not a good look for the number of people on the Isle of Man. Well, it's a tiny island. It tends to have the same effect you see in a lot of island nations, which is the young people leave. Now, they might come back, but they leave. And
I'm actually going more crazy than that. I think it's good because I also don't want to see 2 people die a year racing a mountain course.
Yeah, we could. I'm not sure I want to go down that rabbit hole because we could lose a bunch of fans. People will retract their wanting my skin for $10 if we start talking about the Isle of Man. We could maybe have a discussion with that at a different time. But I think the main thing is that island is not set up to deal with an influx of international racers, travelers. We, on Rob's point, we're pretty much guaranteed 2 to 3 deaths a year. We're guaranteed a significant number. Right, we're guaranteed a significant number of injuries, so the hospitals are already somewhat, stressed with injuries, racers, and all that. To have any kind of influx of COVID on the Isle of Man, it's the best decision for them long term. It allows them to sort of reevaluate what they want to do.
I love how you said off topic, but we transition from talking about your skin to legit motorcycle racing.
Right. I mean, if I crash at the Isle of Man and tore my skin off, it's got to go through customs. It's a whole fucking rigmarole. Rob's got to redo the fucking software on the BrotoGPshop.com to get it through. Whereas if I just stay home, we're in California. Most of these people that are bidding on it are in the United States. There's no customs involved. A little ice cube in there. We're good to go. A little dry ice, a little frozen CO2, and it's good to go.
Yeah, we're only okay with a small amount of dead Kevin, not dead riders or.
We're not savages.
Yeah, just a little bit. Oh man, I can't believe we went down this route to make the longest BrotoGP episode ever.
It's not the longest episode ever. We've had a couple. We had a couple episodes that were like way crazy long.
This one is 1 hour and 52 minutes so far.
Now we've had longer ones than that.
I'm gonna check.
Old school. Check it out. Yeah.
Old school. Oh man.
All right. Last everyone. Question, guys, before we go. If you have one more, otherwise we're gonna bounce. Rob's counting it down. One more. So
will
people
Luca
can pop it up
Rossi next year? No.
Yes. That could be an episode for next week's BrotoGP.
Can Luca
sibling rivalry? Right.
Can Luca win a race like his father?
Oh yeah, well we all know that Luca Marini is actually illegitimate son of Valentino.
Okay, I was wondering where that went.
Yeah, we all know that. Come on, stop. Look at it. That's absolutely his illegitimate son.
Cam or Joe?
Joe.
Cam.
Nope. Joe.
I think we're talking championship points.
I don't care about points.
Yes, you do.
Top 4 best finishes.
Yes, you do.
No,
you
because
care
if
about
Joe
championship points because
No,
technically correct is the best form of correct.
It is the best form of correct, right? Best finish overall, Joe will have a better finish than Cam does. At the end of the year, their 2 best finishes. Joe will have 2 better finishes than Cam. Moto2 is too deep. It's too gnarly. There's too many new tracks. It's too much of a meat grinder for him to find his feet. Cam's going to do well and surprise people, but it's too much of a meat grinder. Joe's already in it there. He's on the slow rise. Basically, what you're asking me is, do I think Cam will get 4 podiums? No. I think he might get 1.
I'm going to agree with Kevin, but keep it simple. Joe will score more points than Cam next year.
Right.
I think Cam will score more points because Joe's worst finishes will be significantly worse than Cam's worst finishes.
So we're back to the consistency talk then, aren't we?
Right. Does Dovey, under any circumstance, race next year? I think Dovey's going to do the same thing that Ben Spies did, which is going to be really annoyed when he's at home with his wife and his 3 kids, or his fucking grip of kids, and he's like, oh, fuck, I got to get out. I'm going to go cross-country racing. I'm going to do enduros. And he's just going to lie and say that he's going to do some enduros for KTM and never actually do it, but it gets him out of the house for a couple weeks.
Oh, he's going to do it. And he's going to do quite well because wasn't his father a world enduro championship?
Yeah, he's a big time motocross rider in his own right.
Yeah, no, I think, and that was one of the sticking points with Dovey signing for someone was they were like, no, you can't ride a Husqvarna or something. He's like, no, I'm actually going to race a Husqvarna in whatever MGP is.
Right.
Not that one. He's not racing MXGP, but I need to stop saying either way. No, Cameron Beaubier, more points than Joe Roberts. That Dennis says otherwise. Kev says maybe, but that Joe will have better finishes. I do agree that Joe Roberts will more likely, his single best performance will be better than Cam's.
Right, but the real question, the real number one question after 2 hours of discussion about different topics, from The Simpsons to GP to fucking Moto2 to Scott Wright and all that, is who is going to be the lucky recipient of my mangled hunk of skin. And it looks as though my boy Eric is coming down the wire. He says, please don't send it. But if Eric has purchased a shirt, David Sprang has donated it to science. Coming in under the wire, David decides from a scientific research point of view, they're going to develop an even more improved COVID vaccine. Even though I haven't had COVID and the skin is dead, they're going to replicate my skin and invent a new vaccine for science. Fucking science.
And the skin is dead. What is Gerloff's career ceiling? Absolutely World Superbike. He's never going to GP.
Yeah, I was about to respond in the chat, especially when we're going to have 2 Americans already in Moto2.
Yeah, I think we're kind of over the career path of Cal Crutchlow, where you take the World Supersport champion and move them over to GP. I think the talent pool is quite solidified in GP, as Kevin talked about earlier, with teams using their junior teams to pull up talent. And Gerloff has no chance in hell in getting to GP.
You know what else is solidified? My hunk of skin that David bought, because that shit is rigor mortis. It's dead. It's solid. It's like a piece of fucking petrified bark. But we're going to send it. And just like those little sponges that you would put in and then turn into a little fucking Tyrannosaurus when it got soaked up with water, you're going to put that skin in some fucking water. It's going to turn into a little mini Kev. And you're going to have a little mini red wine drunk, gray-haired maniac running around your house. All because you spent $20.
Dude, I do like those little dinosaurs that you soak in water and they get like 10 times the size. Those are quite cool. Yeah.
Rob loves things that get 10 times the size. He's a grower.
Well played. Not a shower. Yamaha's willingness to bring Gerloff over to fill in for Rossi. Were they willing, or did they just need someone to fill in for FP1?
That was a necessity, not willingness. It was necessary.
I am surprised that like Van der Mark or someone else didn't get the ride, but I don't know.
I was really surprised at Toprak. We talked about this last episode, so I don't want to go into it too much. Probably some sponsor competition issues. Confliction. Is that a word? Confliction?
No.
Conflicting sponsor issues. So luckily, my hunk of skin does not have a monster tattoo on it. My name is not Kyle, and so you're good to go. If you're sponsored by Monster, Rockstar, whatever, you're good. You can fucking brandish that skin. It's all good.
There's like a Monster M like somewhere right there.
Right. On that shirt, that's definitely not Valentino Rossi. That's definitely not a Yamaha.
Yeah.
Actually, any resemblance is purely coincidental.
That's the Movistar M. I'm sorry. I got it wrong because it's white.
Right.
All right, everyone. It's been 2 hours. I'm going to use this last remaining minute to do our outro.
It's been 2 weeks since you looked at me. 3 minutes since you bit it on my skin. Sexy.
Kevin is the longest good night.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, everyone. Your shirts have been shipped out. Check back in like 2 weeks for new shirts, existing shirts, and maybe some hats. Because we like, oh my God, Eric just spent $21 for skin. Wait, but he wants it. Apparently it's not getting donated to science. I can't even speak anymore. I have 20 seconds to round this one out because we're not going over 2 hours. All right, everyone. You're amazing. I'm sorry that you were bidding on Kev's skin because it's not a real thing. Bare Naked Ladies made this episode. We will talk to you in a week or two because BrotoGP hanging out just makes my day so much better.
Aww.
Isn't it great?
Rob was depressed and sad. Rob was a sad panda. And then y'all bid on my skin.
We're going to have to send Kevin's skin to Rob whenever he misses us.
Nope.
Correct.
No, you don't. No, you don't. All right. Thanks for hanging out as long as you did, everyone, especially for everyone that were bundled up in their covers in bed, chilling with us. Science loses. They don't get Kev's skin. Peace.